Hello and welcome back to Onion Unlimited, the live stream. I'm joined again this week with my friend Carine Kivers. How you doing, Carine?
Well, thank you. How are you, Daniel?
I'm all right. I can't believe it's been a month since we did our last one.
I think it's been a long month. I think it might have been a 5-week month or something.
Been. It was all about societal tipping points last time, wasn't it? The 100th monkey.
That's it. Yes.
We went down that rabbit hole. We'll leave a little link in the description if you want to go and check out that very interesting chat from last time. We've got another goodie this week.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah,
we
quite
do.
Different again.
It is. Yeah, this is down to popular vote from our friends on the hub. They said they would like us to speak all about out of place artifacts, also known as OOPArts. OOPARts.
Not oops, but oop.
No, not oops. OOPArt. Out of place artifacts. First thing I noticed about this is artifacts is spelt with an I. In British English, technically speaking, it's an E, but when it comes to this particular usage, even in British kind of terminology, they use the I version, which is the American version.
Right, so it's artifacts.
Artifacts, yeah, artifacts.
So that's an interesting fact.
It's an interesting fact out of the gate, yeah. So we're going to be talking about out of place artifacts, and what are they? How I came across them was I read this book called
Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah, have you read it?
No, but I have actually seen other podcasters hold it up in conversations that I've heard, and it is a book on my list that I would love to read.
It's a brilliant book.
I'm going to back that.
It's quite an old book, and
apparently it's out of print.
Is it out of print? Oh,
that's what I was.
This is probably quite a valuable book then. It goes into basically this so-called evidence that this guy Eric von Daniken has for that the Earth was visited by aliens in the past. Things like the Nazca lines, the chalk lines in the hills, and all that kind of thing.
Yes,
cave paintings, all kinds of things like that. But he also touches on out of place artifacts. I'll just read you a little bit from here. It says, in the Lebanon, there are glass-like bits of rock, so-called tektites, in which the American Dr. Stair discovered radioactive aluminium or aluminum, depending on if you're American or not, isotopes.
Yeah.
In Egypt and Iraq, there are cut crystal lenses, which today can only be made using cesium oxide. In other words, an oxide that has to be won by electrochemical processes. So these are very, very ancient artifacts, which they've only now got the technology to be able to do these things. In Helwan, wherever that is, there's a piece of cloth, a fabric so fine that it could only be woven today in a special factory. Electric dry batteries, which we're going to look at. This is one of them that we're going to look at in detail today, which work on the galvanic principle, are on display in Baghdad Museum.
Right.
So these are very, very old.
I wonder if that's still there after all that bombing.
Well, after the Iraqi. Maybe not.
Interesting. Maybe they were trying to destroy some of these artifacts. What do you think?
What, destroy the evidence?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe so.
I love those conspiracy theories.
Well, yeah. If you like conspiracy theories, go and check out Chariots of the Gods.
I'm going to bags borrowing that book.
Oh, you can have a read of that as long as you don't sell it.
I might have to wear gloves, hey?
Well, you might have to, yeah. All righty, so out-of-place artifacts, they're basically things like that where archaeologists, scientists and so forth have come across artifacts that just literally, the name is on the tin, they seem out of place, particularly when it comes to the time. They look at it and they go, well, this is like 3,000 years old or 1,000 years old. How did they have the technology? So maybe you've got a few thoughts on that as we go through this. I don't know.
Oh, you know me. I've always got a thought on there, even if we sometimes don't agree. There's always a thought in my head about many things.
Do we ever agree?
Oh, we do. And sometimes we agree to disagree.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All righty. So, we're going to be looking at some ancient machinery, batteries, maps is an interesting one.
Yes.
Some architecture as well, possibly.
Yeah.
Like you say, conspiracy theories, they're a dime a dozen, aren't they, on the internet? People lap these up. So we're also going to be looking at whether or not some of these have been debunked.
Yes.
Could be disappointing.
Well, people always like to sometimes think something is ancient or alien visitors or whatever. And it can be disappointing if it's explained through natural reasons or
But
scientific
I think I'd rather
reasons.
know the truth, wouldn't you?
But to your point, I would rather know the truth. And if someone does a really good fake, you still want to give them credit for it being a damn good fake. But you want to know the truth. So, yes, definitely.
No, we don't want conspiracy theories just for the entertainment, do we?
And it is only a theory, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So we're going to be looking at whether some of these are real. I've got a few lined up for you. I want to get your opinion on them. The original term, out-of-place artifact, it was popularised by a guy way back in 1960s. He was actually a cryptozoologist, a guy called Ivan T. Sanderson. And then people like Eric von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods guy, they've kind of made it a real thing, they've run with that word, out of place artifacts.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of basically made it into people's vocabulary. And it's generally accepted, there's all this like weird stuff out there that is out of place, out of time.
So I wonder if through the ages, because how you're saying that this guy wrote that book and it was really only just sort of, I guess, talked about, and the term was coined, early on last century. Surely people would have talked about it when they discovered something hundreds of years ago, potentially even thousands of years ago. Would they have scratched their head and gone?
They would have probably said this.
Well, that's a bit out of place. It's a bit strange.
I think it was just the terminology wasn't used for it.
No, so that's a new thing. But I think people would have questioned things that were out of place, and maybe potentially might have got burnt at the stake for voicing their opinion, or
possibly so.
Maybe the church might have buried it underneath in their vaults.
It's like all these things, isn't it? When someone comes up with an actual term for something, like hashtag OOPArts. It catches on, doesn't it?
It does.
It gets into the mainstream.
Yes.
So I've got a few here that I want to run past you. You may know some of these already. You may not. You might have some of your own in your own research. I don't know.
Yep.
Sort of winging it a bit here, but we're going to start with the Antikythera Mechanism.
Yep.
So the Antikythera Mechanism is it was from ancient Greece. It's been dubbed the first analog computer.
Yes, I did read that.
I've
looked at pictures.
You've seen pictures of it.
I have. Yeah.
Made from bronze.
Fascinating.
Originally housed in a wooden box about the size of a shoebox. Found in 1901 by sponge divers off the coast of a Greek island, Antikythera, hence where the name came from, in a Roman era shipwreck dated to 70 BCE.
Yeah.
So you've seen photos of this. What have you seen in your photos of the Antikythera Mechanism?
It does look a bit like clock type work, and things go into with cogs and things. So it looks very well made.
Precision made, yeah. I mean, apparently there's 30 meshing gears, dials and inscriptions on this thing.
It's full on.
Yeah, and it's made from what did we say? It's made
bronze.
From bronze.
Yeah.
And the artistry involved in this is not crude. This is
magnificent,
really delicate.
Delicate
cogs.
Yes.
Any ideas what the Antikythera mechanism might have been for? They've dubbed it an analog computer. There are some theories.
An analog computer, which basically means you are recording things. So it's something that you use. So maybe you put a question to it and it gives you an answer. But I also wonder if it's maybe to look and align, say maybe planetary alignments or stars. If it was on a ship, was it used maybe as part of a navigation way of, knowing where the ocean, certain parts were? Because we have such little proof of what they had and what they used. We can only just scratch our head and go, I wonder what it is with the knowledge that we have now. Yeah, but it could have been a number of things that they used.
A lot of times these OOPArts are found out of context as well as out of place. So if you found this and it was alongside like some models of, the solar system,
Yeah. Well, then you'd go, okay,
Yeah,
they
it's
go
probably-
together.
yeah, it's probably-
Yeah.
But when you just find it in the bottom of a,
Yeah.
you know, an
Well, the
ocean
thing is,
somewhere.
and you don't even know if they created it themselves. It might also be a found artifact that they found, and it might have been made by another culture or at a previous time, even before
might be
them.
nothing to do with Greece.
Correct.
Right.
It might be something they had as a hoist
Well,
of some
a
kind.
few,
You know?
the few of the ideas, you're on the right sort of line. You're in good company. It has been suggested it probably is something to do with planetary movements.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought by looking at it.
Particularly solar lunar eclipses.
Yeah,
So solar and lunar eclipses tend to come around fairly regularly.
they do.
And the thing with cogs and gears is once you get your ratios correct, like if you've got
They move
you've got a
perfectly.
1 to 4, you turn it
Yes.
once, this one turns
Yeah,
4 times or whatever.
yeah,
If they sort of figured out, well, that eclipse happens every so many times of this happening, they can basically tweak it so that they can then put in so many turns of a cog,
something. Yes,
and it will say,
yes.
oh, well, that's turned like 20 times. The next solar eclipse is
Yes.
going to be in 20 years' time or something like
yes,
that. You know?
yes.
So that's a possibility. Another one, if it is related to Greece, is that it possibly marked the Olympic cycles.
Could be.
Well, I think that's a bit of a stretch because you wouldn't know how often 4 years is, wouldn't you? Assuming it was
No,
every 4
and
years.
the thing is, you've also got to assume because it's one of those things that in different religions and cultures, they talk about people being hundreds of years old because they thought that the Egyptians counted in years, whereas a shower is actually supposedly be a month, a cycle of the
right.
moon.
You reckon sometimes like what was recorded wasn't actually the
Correct.
correct length
So,
of time. Yeah.
So if you're going, well, Olympics every 4 years, well, is that realistic? Because
If
was
that's
that documented that, it started from year dot and then it was every 4 years
Well, if
was
that's
recorded
the case,
again.
if that's the case, anything before our current calendar could be way off.
and I actually think it is.
You think it is?
Oh, yeah, and I think there's more than one calendar. You've got all these different calendars. So, you've got the Gregorian calendar. You've got
the Mayan calendar.
Mayan calendar.
People were predicting the end of the world with that one, weren't they?
Well,
It
yeah,
ran
and
out at a certain point.
and
They
then it
said,
depends on if you like go with Kali Yuga calendars or so there's so many different things.
Kala Yuga calendars. We're talking hundreds of thousands.
That's
of years,
correct.
aren't we?
That's right. Yeah. So and who's right or who's wrong? So
maybe it's something to do with planetary movements. One thing that seems to allude to that is at the time there were only 5 known planets, Mercury through Saturn, and that seems to line up with the number of cogs.
yeah.
They actually did build a functioning replica of this thing. That might be the images that you've seen.
Yes, I would imagine so. Yeah.
A guy called Michael Wright, who was a mechanical engineer and a historian. They built a working replica of it.
Yeah.
The cogs kind of mashed up a little bit when they were trying to use it, so they're not entirely sure as to whether it was ever actually very accurate. There's a good chance they could have sort of turned it and it just ground to a halt.
Or maybe, you know what? Maybe it used a different system to move the cogs. We don't know.
So, some special ancient oil.
Yeah,
we don't
that's
know
right.
that,
Exactly. We just don't know, do we?
No, they've done CT scans. That was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So that's how they could see the actual mechanism without actually damaging it because it's so fragile.
Yeah, because bronze is quite soft as well.
Very, very soft.
So there's that delicacy of the cogs moving. So chances are it may not even have moved that fast.
No.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it's perplexing. It's a little bit unusual. It
sounds like it was pretty real.
And we don't. Well, this is the thing: is it debunked or not? They've said no. It is genuine.
Yeah.
It actually is genuine. Mainstream academia have accepted it. They're not 100% sure what it is, but they think it's probably something to do with
the stars,
solar system, or Either way, it goes back to 70 BCE, which shows that these people were pretty bright when it came to building things.
Oh, look. And
not just massive buildings, but really intricate little
and
things
just because we say that, we live in the modern age and we've got, the most technology now than we've ever had, I would say that needs to be debunked because I think that's a fallacy. There are so many things that we just don't give people credit for because we're not there. We weren't there. Well, so we don't know what sort of things that they had.
Thing, because, like Charles Babbage that actually built what we do actually recognise as the first mechanical computer. So Charles Babbage was the guy that built the it was like a sort of cogs and what have you, and you put numbers in and it spewed out results. That was only in the 19th century, I think that was built. Yeah. You look at where we are now, we've gone from Charles Babbage's differential machine, I think they called it, through to quantum computing now in 150 years, something like that. Yeah. If the Greeks actually had built that thing in 70 BC, is it much of a stretch to think that sort of maybe 1st century AD they actually had achieved some level of advancement that we don't even know about? Because remember the Alexandrian library that contained a lot of information, that was all burnt. That got destroyed. So there is
purpose,
a lot of records.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of records we don't know about.
Yeah, and I think that was burnt on purpose to destroy a lot of things. So we don't even know for sure if all of that was lost because we don't know if things were smuggled out or, because again, we weren't there.
We don't have any evidence that there was, because we've talked about resets before. We don't have any evidence that there was a reset sort of early 1st or 2nd century, do we? But I guess it's not entirely beyond. And
there might have just been a reset somewhere. Just because it's a reset doesn't mean it's globally. It's a reset somewhere. And like I said, it might be an artifact that the Greeks found. From maybe an earlier civilization.
Yeah, maybe they didn't understand it.
Correct.
Maybe they didn't understand
it. Maybe it's just a treasure.
Maybe whoever built it way back could have been thousands of years even.
That's right.
That might have been a replica of something.
Exactly.
Maybe they did have mobile phones and computers.
Well, there is some images supposedly carved in, some of the hieroglyphics or, on stone.
There's a lot of stuff in this book, like
those little bags they carry, or what a block that looks like a mobile phone.
It looks like aliens carrying handbags, and one of the most compelling arguments I've read in those in those stone what do you call them, like carvings, is that they might have been power sources that they were carrying around,
and battery of some kind.
A battery of some sort.
And then they've talked about people holding tablets. So that basically, and there wasn't a written word. So maybe that was after one of the resets, is tablets. That you had to learn to write because we've lost the ability to maybe use some kind of tablet to communicate on, and maybe there were computers. We just don't know.
We've done a full podcast on audio only. I think that one was on reset. So again, I'll leave a link in the description. Yes. You can go and check that one out, because you do think that society has been reset many times.
Many times, yes.
All righty, okay. That takes us nicely then. So we're going to say that one is genuine.
Yes, I would agree.
Genuinely weird.
Yes, and maybe out of place because it didn't seem to fit anywhere.
It doesn't fit what we know, but we don't 100% know what it actually was.
That's right. Yes, and what it was used for.
We're kind of guessing on that score. All right, that moves us nicely on to the next one, which is the Baghdad Battery.
Yes.
Now, old Eric in his book.
Back to him.
He talks about this one quite a bit in his book. The Baghdad Battery. What is it? So it is a ceramic jar.
Yep.
Like earthenware kind of thing.
Yep. Pot.
Yeah. They've dug it out of the ground in Baghdad. They found this in 1936, and it dates back to, goes back even further. This goes back to 250 BC. All right, so we're talking 2,300 years ago. This thing was built.
Yeah.
It's got a rod through the middle of it, which is made of copper, I believe. Yeah, it's a copper cylinder, and it's got like asphalt, which is like a sort of bitumen, holding it in place.
Yep.
In and of itself, like, it just looks like a pot with a piece of copper in it. But when you fill it with some acid of some kind. So we're talking either vinegar or lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
So that they poured some vinegar or lemon juice into it. They found it produced between 0.5 and 1 volt of electricity.
Interesting.
It's basically like a very large AA battery.
Yeah, could be that.
Any other ideas what that might be? Go for it.
Because did you know that copper keeps water bacteria free? And they use it in India.
That's
they use it in India. So in India they use lots of copper vessels.
So it could have just been a water jar?
Yeah, could have just been a water jar, and you insert a copper rod and it actually keeps the water fresh.
And the bitumen might have just been to
hold it in place. Yeah. That was my theory when I looked at that, and I went, oh, that kind of just looks like a water jug, because the thing is, back in the day when you think about it, water wasn't necessarily that easily accessible everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And people had to carry water jugs and get them from wells and store them. And if you were, in areas where there might have been war, or you've got lots of people, put a copper rod in it.
Yep.
And it keeps that water pure.
I actually like this. Where you're going with that a bit better than what the experts are saying.
Maybe they need to pay me the big bucks for analysing some of this stuff. But I have water in my bathroom for rinsing my mouth.
Copper is like a reason why copper's always been very popular for things like cooking, like pots and things, isn't it? And I saw something the other day. I don't know if you've seen these. I'm not sure if this is just a fad, some sort of scam, but it's like a piece of metal sort of in the shape of a bar of soap. Have you seen those? And it's like if you've been like cutting onion or garlic or something, your hands are really smelly.
Right.
You just wet this piece of metal and you rub it in your hands, and it takes the smell away.
I wonder if it's a piece of copper.
Either copper or aluminium or something like that.
I don't know, because aluminium is different again. It's made of different properties, whereas copper is very antibacterial. Like I said, it keeps water forever. Like it will slowly leach the copper into the water, so it'll have a metal
like green,
flavour.
doesn't it, over time?
It can do, not all the time.
Well, pipes. I mean, even in the UK now, there's many. The old houses have still got copper pipes in.
Yes.
I mean, gradually they've gone over to plastic. Now, I don't know whether moving over to plastic pipes is actually necessarily a good thing.
I tend to think it's not.
It could actually be bad, because that could be getting all the chemicals into
into your water. Yes, that's right. Whereas copper pipes keeps your water clean. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it was like in Australia. Perhaps the houses are not as old going back, but in the UK we had a lot of houses that still had lead pipes in.
Yeah, which is not very good. Lead pipes you want to stay away from.
Lead pipes not good.
Yeah,
all right, so we think this might be something to do with water. That's a very interesting theory. I've not read anywhere about that, so maybe you're onto something new.
No,
there,
that was
Carine.
just my gut.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This jar is about 13 centimetres tall, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
They have made a replica, again in the 1930s, a German scientist called Wilhelm König.
Corning is how you would say it.
Is that how you say it? Is it?
Corning.
Corning. Oh, yeah. I'm glad you speak German.
Wilhelm Corning.
Wilhelm Corning demonstrated it could generate some voltage. Now, the problem... it does. They when they filled it with... They can get it out. But is that just a case of going, well, it looks a bit like a battery. Let's try and make it work like a battery.
And you know what?
Could be, couldn't it?
And where would you have some spare acid?
Well, just lemon juice.
Yeah.
Or vinegar.
Yeah. But you know what? Vinegar takes a while to make. Have you ever tried making vinegar? Because I make vinegar at home. It takes a while to make.
So you don't think they... Well, the thing is, let's say for a moment it was a battery.
Yes.
Okay. What would they have used it for? Now, it's not going to power your lights.
They didn't have lights because they didn't find light bulbs, did they?
Philip, well, this is...
Or they didn't found...
This is what I was saying about context. Because if you found like a light bulb, you'd go,
it makes sense. Yeah.
They've not found any context.
No, so again, this is where my little noggin went. Maybe that was just a travel water jug. when
travel
you're going,
jug.
because it's 13 centimeters tall. So maybe that was just a travel water jug.
Travel jug.
Yeah, a travel jug. You know how you do that now?
I do.
With
I do. Electroplating is a possible one because they have found in the past jewellery and things that have got a very, very thin layer of another metal on it, either silver or gold or whatever.
Yeah.
And electroplating, as the name suggests, does require some form of electrolysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually you have like a medium, a liquid medium, you put the object into the liquid medium, and then you have like some maybe gold flecks or something in gold nitrate or something like that, silver nitrate or whatever. And then you produce a very, very small charge through the liquid, and the chemical reaction takes place, and the little particles of silver in the liquid adhere to the metal. So you do need some form of electricity to perform that. So there are suggestions that they probably did have some technology, but was it the Baghdad Battery? The problem is they haven't found anything near the Baghdad Battery in the vicinity.
That's right, in context.
That suggests it was for that. So,
and this is the whole thing. It's like when you find a whole heap of things, usually one backs up the other.
Yeah.
It's like when you find a whole heap of pottery and tools and so forth, and you find no bones of people, then you kind of go, something's amiss here.
It's a bit odd. Did you see that in the news this last week? They've dug up a skeleton, like really, really old skeleton, like medieval times or something, and this guy's got a tourniquet on his leg. Looks like he bled to death, but he was wearing a condom.
I did not see that because I don't watch the news.
Sausage skin or something like that, yeah.
He probably wore a sausage skin, and it depends on where he was found.
Yeah.
As in context-wise, because you'd have to enlighten me on it because I don't watch the news.
I'm looking at the context of it. You find a man wearing a condom with a tourniquet bleeding out. Chances are probably he was up to no good and someone found him, stabbed him in the leg.
And you think that people get up to no good now? I think they've got up to no good since the beginning of time.
Of course they have. So maybe a simple explanation.
Who knows? Or maybe he had a cold willy.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if that would be like the thing you'd be worried about if you were bleeding out.
Or it might have been a punishment thing.
Might have been a punishment
thing. Maybe he was a captive of some kind. See, the imagination goes wild.
But this is the weird thing. You find stuff like this, and we're looking at this like hundreds, sometimes thousands of years later, and we're like trying to make sense of it. Have we got a clue? No,
because we weren't there. We're not even familiar with the lifestyle, the thought processes, the mindset. None of it. So we're just analysing it with our brain today.
Yeah, and if someone 2,000 years from now finds my MacBook,
going, what the hell is that?
Or my phone or something like that.
Or your hat or a pair of socks.
A pair of socks or something like that. Are they going to go, oh, well, that must be a cooking device or something like that? They might do, mightn't they?
Yeah, you have no clue because it's completely out of context. Yeah,
they don't know anything about just using a phone to watch cat videos, do they? They'll be looking at it. So that's an
out of place artifact, that guy's willy cover, wasn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. All right, so genuine or debunked Baghdad Battery. It is a real thing.
We just don't quite know what it is.
They're saying at the moment, this is academia speaking again, the battery interpretation is speculative, not widely accepted.
Yeah.
So
basically they don't have a clue.
They don't have a clue. All righty, number 3, a 1.8 billion, we're going way back now, 1.8 billion year old nuclear reactor.
Yeah. See, for me, question number 1 is I have huge issues with timing.
When they say 1.8
as in
billion.
dating. Yeah, because I want to know how, who, when, where, what did we agree on? How did we base what did we base that on?
Yeah.
Because, they go, oh, yeah, we digged out these columns of ice or digged out these columns of soil and this is how we know geologically, blah, blah. And I go, well, because we talk about, global warming now.
Yep.
Weather has always changed.
Yep.
So what's the benchmark? What's the starting point, finishing point? So 1.8 billion is, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, 1.8 billion is...
I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot earlier than sort of humanity.
And
even the
only
oldest
than a
forms
couple of
of
thousand
humanity
years
is
old.
only like sort of 400,000 years old.
Exactly, yep.
So good luck with this one. I'm probably going to call this one bullshit from the outset. But,
go on. Let's play.
Right, so it was found in West Africa, 1972.
Yeah. So a newbie, fairly, really.
Yeah. Formed about 1.8 billion years ago when uranium deposits reached critical mass with groundwater acting as a moderator.
I want to know who worked that out.
Well, there you go. Reacted intermittently over hundreds of thousands of years and then left behind basically isotopic evidence similar to that of man-made nuclear reactors. But they're saying this is just natural. It's got all the hallmarks of a nuclear reactor, but this is just a naturally occurring thing that happened with radiation and seeping into the groundwater and so forth.
Or it could also be just maybe it was a nuclear reactor prior with a civilization of a previous reset.
This is the thing. This is what the conspiracy theories and the fringe theorists, as they like to call themselves, are saying. Oh, this is evidence of some sort of advanced technology or aliens. Possibly. Now, if there are such a thing as aliens and they have visited the planet at some point, you would think they would actually have to have some form of nuclear fission, fusion, something like that reactor in order to power their crafts, wouldn't you?
And that's if they're coming from external and they're not coming from internal.
Oh, interdimensional.
Or inside the Earth. Like,
go on.
Don't most sites of spacecraft somehow come out of this ocean and disappear back in the ocean? Like that's
possibly
a lot of them. So is there maybe something in the inner Earth?
They
so
reckon,
who knows?
I was reading somewhere that something like 90% of the ocean hasn't actually been explored.
Correct. And that no one's really been to the deepest, darkest part to the bottom. They just haven't.
Musk, like firing up his rockets to go to Mars, and there's actually still places on Earth that haven't been visited.
And have they really been to Mars? Come on. Have you seen the landing on the moon?
Well, no, don't get me started on the moon landings. I'm not 100% sure we went to the moon.
I'm 100% sure we didn't go to the moon.
Yeah, well, when you consider that the computers apparently that they had in 1969, and there was actually like 12
rooms worth,
but you know how they were less powerful than a digital watch.
And not only that, the president spoke to the people on the moon.
Yeah.
Like, try this. Try going down the road with your mobile and lose reception or not.
Yeah.
Because you do.
I mean, that's a bit out of place.
Because you do.
Yeah. No,
and they spoke with no time delay.
There wasn't a time delay, was there?
And how's it even work? Come on.
Yeah.
Days away. The moon is like so far away, thousands of kilometers. And then who took that cinematography of...
Yeah, there's
taking off from the moon. Come on,
too many.
No, not going there. 100%.
If there are aliens that have been to the Earth and left behind some of these out of phase artifacts,
yes,
they are definitely not going to be getting to us on a NASA rocket.
And they're not going to be getting.
That's really primitive.
And they're not going to be talking to us via mobile phone, are they? Nope.
And even what Musk is doing with these rockets to get them to the moon is still only rocket propulsion. We're not talking about interdimensional travel or quantum travel or
they've probably gone nowhere.
Well, it's even going to Mars is like it's just a spit's distance, isn't it? It's really nothing.
I just think it's not feasible. No. I think it's all a game.
Something I found really interesting, actually, just going off tangent a little bit like we like to. The photos that we've got of our galaxy?
Are they even real?
Well, they're not. They're not. And I'll tell you why they're not.
I know they're not.
Right, well, they physically can't be real because in order to take that photo, the camera would have to be outside the galaxy looking back.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We haven't got anything that's ever gone really much further than just slightly outside our solar system.
But we haven't even left the solar system.
No.
We haven't even left this planet.
So any pictures that we've got of our
it's
actual
not
galaxy,
real.
the Milky Way galaxy, is a regenerated picture from the inside out, looking at the stars and figuring where they are, and then getting a computer to construct what it would look like.
Yeah,
it's
but
not a photo.
But it's what would look like. So, all those computer analogies that they do around diseases and around all sorts of speculative things, they're all just number crunching in a computer.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I do draw the line a little bit. I've got a very good friend called Simon that's been on the show before, and he basically debunks everything. He doesn't believe in the moon landing, so I don't even know if
He's my friend.
I don't even know if he believes in planets. Actually,
I don't.
He's a flat earther.
Well, no, I don't think it's a flat Earth. I just know that this is not the place that we think it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on.
I don't know if it's round. I don't know if it's flat. It doesn't really matter because we can't truly prove it anyway.
But he has made, sort of like points that like the pictures of the Earth from the moon are
they're
not,
fake.
They're fake images. I don't think they are. If we got to the moon, I think it's perfectly conceivable that.
But
you
who's
could take
taking the pictures? And it also means when you're looking over the moon onto the Earth, then you're supposed to be at least partially on the other side of the moon, but nobody's actually really been to the other side of the moon. Yeah. And do we even know if the moon is a circle or is it just a flat disc?
Well,
we don't know that either.
But I do take his point. He made the point, and he's dead right that the photos of the galaxy they can't possibly be real.
I agree.
Because we haven't got the time to actually get
That's right.
with rocket
we've never
propulsion,
been there. So
it would take all of human existence
and some.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So,
yep. So,
all righty. So we're thinking probably debunking the nuclear reactor. We're probably saying that is debunked. We don't think it's man-made. Do you think it could be? And they're saying it's natural.
They're saying it's natural.
Maybe not that one, but do you think if there are some things that, like the Antikythera thing and some of these others we're going to look at, do you think they possibly could be alien?
So I reckon we would have to pause that and hang it somewhere in the maybe.
Maybes again, yeah.
Yeah, because potentially for now it is genuine. It is natural. Because we haven't got another answer.
It's genuine, but it's entirely natural. That's what we're going with. But we could
definitely speculate that it was made by something, even if it was another race of humans, maybe more advanced than us. We just weren't there.
That's right. Could be down to the resets again.
Yes.
All righty. Well, we're just going to ask you, if you enjoy our little show that we're doing, if you could maybe hit that subscribe button.
Yay.
And hit the notification bell. We're trying really, really hard at the moment to try and build an audience, aren't we? And it's extremely difficult with long-form content. it seems today a lot of people only like the little shorts and what have you.
Yeah, so love us, like us, share us.
Please, come and click that.
Let's do that. We need you desperately.
We do.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about maps next. The Piri-Reis map, an ancient seafaring map, apparently. Drawn in 1513,
to be exact, hey? Yeah,
by Ottoman Admiral Piri-Reis, showing parts of Europe, Africa, and South America.
Yep.
Showing Antarctica
free of ice.
No ice.
I'm not surprised by that.
1500. So the question is this a genuine map? And sometime since 1513, has Antarctica frozen over?
Potentially, yeah. Because everything that we get told these days, I actually think most of it is a lie.
Oh, okay. Well,
and because the thing is also, we have the Antarctica Treaty, which every country on this planet has signed.
Yeah, this is one where nobody is allowed to own it. Is that the one? They're only allowed to go and do scientific research.
And no one's allowed to fight over it either. So they've all agreed. I can hate you, you can hate me, we can just go and kill each other at free will.
But we're
all mates by the agreement that we don't do anything in Antarctica. So what is there?
There's something under the ice?
Well, why do you think
aliens?
During the Second World War, Hitler spent a huge part of his army and sent them to Antarctica.
Did he?
They did. Yes, that you can. I'm not making this up.
What? Doing what?
finding things.
What did they find? We don't know.
We don't know. But they believed that there was secret stuff happening in Antarctica.
Underneath
and it's
the ocean.
It's still locked off.
I've just
still
realised I've been
there.
talking for the last sort of like 3 minutes. You've been talking and the camera's not been on you. They've just been seeing my beautiful face.
Oh,
and not,
lovely.
and not yours. There you go. Oh, the joys of life.
The audience is just listening to my beautiful
Well, anyone
voice.
that's just tuned in will be thinking, that man has got a lady's voice and his mouth's not moving. Yeah. All right. So Germans,
Never
Nazis, Antarctica. All right. Let me throw
So I'm not
a few.
surprised that map exists.
All right. But there's the thing, right?
Yes.
It was covered in ice 6,000 years ago. So it's always had ice on it.
But how do we know that for sure?
Well, presumably,
who's written that, and who
what
gave us that news?
What they're thinking is that maybe this is just an idea. All right, maybe the 1513 map was actually just copied from an earlier map, that goes way back to a time when perhaps there wasn't any ice on it. So
great excuse for it.
It could be meant. It could actually be thousands and thousands of years. But how do you draw maps like accurate-ish maps when you haven't got a bird's eye view of things?
So I'm going to throw something else out at you, because what's this map made of?
I don't know. What's it made of?
So a book. That book that you've got is how many years old? Paper.
Oh, this one here, the Eric book.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's from 1969, the year that they put me on the moon.
Yeah. So most printed books are only a couple of 100 years old because they disintegrate, they break up, they fall apart, they rot, they get worms in them. When you touch some acid on it, that actually disintegrates paper. Yeah. So if you're making maps, one would think maybe it was on hides of some kind.
Yeah, this is on paper.
Really? It's on paper,
well,
and it's
map,
old.
The map itself is definitely 1513.
But I'm going to question this.
Yeah, but 1513 is not that long ago.
But there's no written word. Most books, even in monasteries, don't date back.
No. I'm sure there's. Well, look at just the King James Bible. I mean, that's like 1600 something, isn't it?
That's what they say.
Yeah, well, it will be because that's when King James.
Because you were there.
I'm that old.
Because you were there. Yeah. But so what state is this map? Like, what condition is it in? Because
I don't think it was particularly very good. But the point is, the map. What we think is that the map was actually just a copy, maybe. Of an earlier map. That's one view.
Yes.
Another view, and this is where Occam's razor comes in. You know, the idea that the simplest answer is normally the most reasonable one. Is that the map is just wrong. It could actually be. It's not Antarctica at all. It's South America, and they've just drawn it wrong.
Oh, there's so many maps that have been found that actually are
show,
drawn right at the time, and things have changed. And then they keep telling us that, this is where it is. But again, none of us can go around the circumference of the Earth.
Yeah, I mean,
to prove that the Earth is round.
I'd like to know how they've actually managed to even draw maps if they couldn't see from above.
Well, they would have had to have some kind of technology.
How do you actually work that out?
Yes, and not only that, if some land was not discovered, supposedly, because isn't this the time before Columbus?
1513? Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know.
See, we'd have to look
at
it.
There must be a way of drawing a map without having a bird's eye view. There must be a way of doing it. By just walking around the edge of the...
Yeah, you do. You walk and you measure and you find key points. But to draw a map, it means you've got to have been there before. And you've got to know where...
at least had to have been there, wouldn't you?
And you've got to know where point A is to add point B, and you've got to have some kind of technology to measure that. So is this map really from 1513?
Maybe he just didn't have a white crayon, so he couldn't like colour it white. Maybe that was a problem. Here's an interesting thing I was reading about the other day about maps and so forth. You know the coastline.
Yeah.
Do you know you can never actually say how big a coastline or a country actually is? And the reason why is because of this, right? So, you know, when you look at your map and you've got your map on your atlas, yeah, you could sort of get your ruler out and you could go, oh, well, it's like a centimetre there and it's a centimetre there and a centimetre there. And you could go round the coastline, couldn't you? You could say, oh, it's so many centimetres round.
Yeah.
And a centimetre on this map is equal to, you know, 10 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
And so therefore the coastline is this long.
Yeah.
When you're actually measuring a coastline, if you were actually walking along measuring a coastline, and you reach, for example, a big rock on the coast, a big rock on the beach, do you go to the left of the rock or the right of the rock? Right, one person might go to the left, one might go to the right. It's going to affect,
of course, it will,
the actual measurement, isn't
Correct.
it?
Yeah.
It actually even matters down to a smaller level which side of a grain of sand you go. When you're dealing with something that long as a big...
and that big.
That big.
Surface. Yes.
It actually makes a huge difference as to
Yes.
how far away from the actual, you know, the beach you actually are.
Yes.
How far do you actually go
That's right.
out to measure the actual...
Because
do you do it when the tide's in or when the tide's out?
Because it exponentially will grow and grow and grow. So, yeah.
So no one actually knows how big anything actually is accurately. And some of the... Even the most accurate map I was reading somewhere the other day has got a massive error in it because the guy that was given the job of walking from one place to another, I think he took a shortcut or something.
So is Tasmania part of Australia?
It's like, you know, again, it's like, do we know
did
any
we
of these
get
things?
that wrong?
Yeah, well, so maps, they're basically saying this Piri-Reis map was there a time when Antarctica was not covered in ice, possibly, but it's like at least 6,000 years ago. And the map that shows it in 1513 is either a copy of an earlier map or it's just someone's drawn it wrong.
Or I would say
totally
it
debunked.
might have been with no ice before one of the resets.
Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't
Look,
know.
if Greenland used to be green without ice and it's now covered in ice, most of it,
Yeah.
you know, once upon a time.
Is that why it was called Greenland?
Greenland.
Yeah. Did it used to be green?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't know. I didn't know that. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So there you go.
Our last one for the
Yes.
evening. This is Adams Bridge. Okay. So Adams Bridge, also known as the Ram Setu, a 50-kilometre long, what they've called a bridge. If you go on Google, you can actually see this. It's between the Pamban Islands in India and the Mannar Islands in Sri Lanka, what appears to be a bridge.
Yes, and if I hold up an image, may I hold up an image?
Have you got an image there?
Oh,
just pass this over. There we go. Look, there's a picture.
Yeah.
There's a picture from outer space.
Yeah.
And it indeed does look like
a bridge.
A bridge
Yeah.
of some kind.
Of some kind, yes.
Radiocarbon dated to 7,000 years ago. Why is it an OOPArt? Some have said this is a man-made bridge built by a prehistoric advanced civilization.
Oh, I like that idea.
Not a bad idea.
No,
but
I like it. I can't prove it, but I like it.
Well, the claim is quite a big one that it's a man-made origin.
Yes.
Of man-made origin. When they've looked at this, it's 50 kilometres long, and it's made of limestone. Okay. The sort of geological argument on this is it is a natural formation. So there was something already there. However, this is a little bit of a, maybe there is a little something going on here because there's possibly human intervention in kind of going, well, there's a natural land bridge there.
Well,
from
isn't
limestone,
that what humans do?
But let's reinforce this.
That's right. There's an opportunity. We could utilise that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very possible.
Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at what they do in. Have you seen the things in Dubai where they they've got these like huge dredging machines where they can
yes.
actually pump sand
Yes.
from under the sea, and they actually pile it up into islands. Have you
Yes.
seen them? They're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
in sort of shapes
And they
of like
make
palm trees.
very, very expensive
Well, they build on them. They're like
housing on it. Yeah,
they're
yes,
really, really,
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really solid.
Yeah, you and I can't afford it.
No,
Not with the rate of, subscriber following that we've
no,
got.
not at the moment. So this sort of idea that you can actually change your environment, it is
Yes.
actually a thing.
Yes. Well, look at all the dams around the world.
Dams and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's even the old dams from sort of like the 1800s. There was a degree of heavy plant required to move some. I haven't said that. A lot of stuff people did used to do an awful lot of things by hand, didn't they? Even like the Mount Rushmore.
Mm.
With the presidents carved into stone.
Oh,
It was
yes.
all done
Yeah,
by
yeah.
hand. Dynamite. They used dynamite as well to
Yes.
blow holes in the
Yeah.
whatever. But is it possible that, at some point, 7,000 years old, is it possible 7,000 years ago people would have had the technology to be able to take something like a natural forming limestone shoal between two islands and actually reinforce it and turn it into a bridge?
Well, have a look at half the buildings in India some of them have carved out of rocks. And you go, I don't even know how they've made that. I mean, an out-of-place artifact would be, say, Giza, for instance, Pyramid at Giza.
Yeah, we've not got that one down here. But have you noticed? Read that they've discovered they're like pillars going down underneath the pyramid.
Supposedly, yes.
Jury's still out on what that is at the moment.
Yes, and the jury is also still out, as in Giza is the only ever structure built the way that it is, and everything else is just a copy, but it doesn't have the same things on the inside. So that's the original.
That's the original.
But I think it was an out-of-place artifact even during Egyptian times. Because I don't even know.
I do agree with you on that.
I don't even know if the Egyptians actually really built that.
Yeah, because that one is particularly fine, whereas a lot of the other ones are quite crude, aren't they?
Yes. And there's no inscriptions there's no hieroglyphics in it. There's only one which was actually a fake to try to get money to do more discoveries and all that kind of thing.
Some of the things some people have been saying, like those pillars, those pylons and the ground are basically just foundational pylons to hold the thing up. That's one suggestion. Other people have been suggesting it might actually be some sort of underground power storage thing, and that the actual pyramids themselves, because I think originally the Great Pyramid of Giza actually had a gold
dome on top or cover,
gold cover
white
at the very top.
limestone around and then a gold
white
dome.
limestone with gold. It would have been
That's
like
right.
blinding.
Absolutely, yes. And
But
some
was that-
theories are that they were like battery generators or power generators. Yeah, so we don't know.
Possibly even heat generators,
Yes,
where it's like
could
taking the
be.
heat of the sun, because
Yes.
that would have absorbed
Yes, yeah, because they weren't built in the desert.
no.
That's the other thing. When you go, well, there was no ice on Antarctica, but it
have
wasn't
absorbed-
built in the
would
desert.
Would it have absorbed or reflected though if it was white? What did you say? It was white marble.
Yeah, no, white
White
limestone, I think it
limestone.
was. So white is reflective.
That's what I'm thinking. It would have been better if they'd have built black pyramids. That would have been a cool idea, wouldn't it?
But then you absorb the heat.
And then use it.
But then maybe that's not what it was, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I went to a very interesting place in Wales. It's called the CET Centre for Environmental Technology, and it was basically kind of just ideas for alternative energy and that sort of thing. Yeah, and they actually had. I was going to try and reconstruct it, but we never used to really have an awful lot of sun in the UK. It'd be brilliant here.
Yes. No, I know. I was there. Definitely not an awful lot of sun.
Black pipes, just PVC.
Oh, they get
drain
boiling
pipes.
hot.
Right. So
Oh,
what they had was just these pipes, sort of almost in a zigzag radiator sort of format.
Yeah.
Full of water on a roof.
And it gets to super hot.
Oh, the water. And then when the water was coming out of it,
Yes.
enough to boil a kettle, make a cup of tea or something with. Yeah.
Cook an egg.
cook an egg.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. Maybe they should have done that. They should have made the pyramids black and harnessed the energy. There's an idea they never thought of.
Because maybe that's not what it was built for.
Well, what do you think it was? I mean, the Stargate films, I used to love watching.
Yes,
the Stargate
they were
movie.
good, weren't they?
They were brilliant, weren't they?
Yes,
they said that
they were good.
They maintained that the pyramids were landing
Yes, for other
bases
beings.
for spaceships.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
I don't know.
I think that original pyramid definitely was
Something like
not
that?
built by the people that they said built it.
Okay.
I reckon it was there before. But then, like so many other buildings,
All right.
I believe that they were there before.
Okay.
And
so
humans
this
just turned up.
7,000-year-old limestone bridge, we're going with is probably just natural.
And maybe man
They might have enhanced it.
yeah.
Possibly.
Yep.
With human
Yeah.
technology at the time.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so there's a few to get our audience going. Let's just quick recap. We've got the first one, which was the analog computer, the Antikythera Mechanism. Do you think that's a genuine device or not? Academia is saying probably is. We don't know.
Yeah,
100%.
no, I agree that it's a genuine device.
Baghdad
We're just not sure
Battery.
what
Do you
ball.
think that was a battery? You think it was probably something to do with cooking?
I don't know. I reckon it was probably just a travel water jug.
Or water, that's right,
That
yeah.
could be just my theory.
The 1.8 billion year old nuclear reactor. We've called bullshit on that one.
Well,
Nah,
it's just the 1.8 billion I'm questioning for
we
starters.
lost us at that one. The map is just a guy who didn't know how to colour in or draw his map right.
And look, you know what? I actually think that maybe at that time Antarctica, how did they even know that Antarctica existed? Like, who talks about that? Where was that written that people had gone to Antarctica for starters?
I think that's just a guy who got his map wrong. And the Adams Bridge, we think probably is.
And they go, well
it's a
done.
natural thing, and just a bit of brute force. They managed to make it into a proper land.
And go, well
land
done.
Bridge, and go, well done.
Good on them.
All righty, there we go. So thank you for joining us, folks, tonight. Just a reminder there, if you like what me and Carine are trying to do each month, please hit the like, the subscribe button and that little notification bell, and then we can carry on making some more videos like this. And also, if you head over to our Facebook page, there's a little poll.
Yes, that's
For what would you like us
Very
to talk about
good.
next time? So we've got things like ley lines.
placebo, nocebo.
Yeah, that was that one.
That
We've
was
got
another one.
something about friendship. We've got one
Yes, the
about
nature of friendship.
the butterfly effect.
Correct. Yes,
that's quite
I think that's a
interesting.
really good one too.
And I think there's also something about the spell of the English language.
That's right. Spell of the English language and the power or the magic of breath, as in breathing.
breath work as well,
yeah.
which you know all
and
about.
breathing. Yes.
Alrighty, so if you want to head over there, folks, and let us know
Choose
what
a
you want.
subject.
Choose a subject. Let us know what to talk about next time. Thank you for joining us this time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.